What's up, guys? My name is Jameson Brandon, and I'm in beautiful Santa Monica. As you can see behind me right there, people walking by and just enjoying a super nice day. It's a good break because it's been quite cold here, so it's like 70 degrees out today. We're at the beach just hanging out, and I wanted to share a few things with you. Now, over the last probably 2 or 3 years especially, I've been accumulating and kind of compacting some specific tools to build this framework and this system for speed learning. Now, just in that first sentence, just what I shared with you, there will be half of you, if not more, that just tune out. So for the people who, oh gosh, speed learning, I don't believe that's possible, all you guys just go ahead and just shut off the video. Just tune out, go back to what you're doing. Like, it's all good. Like, you don't have to worry about trying to satisfy me or yourself. Just go ahead and go back to what you're doing. But for the few people that are watching this, that as soon as I mention speed learning or speed skill acquisition, that gets you excited. And that starts getting you down this thought process of what's possible. Then stick with me, because I got some cool stuff that I want to share with you. I want to share with you 3 specific, very simple tools, or hacks if you want to call them, that will help you with picking up skills and picking up technical trade that's considered very hard very quickly. Now, obviously, before even getting started, the first thing that I'd say is most important is you have to have a willingness. You have to be open enough to even hear what I'm saying. If you're just watching this video like out of spite to just prove and find a point that might not be in sync with your beliefs or that you might not believe to be true, then we've already lost. So you should just, like I said, go back to what you're doing. Because you have to have an openness. Like, could I learn this quicker than everyone else is saying? Could I become really good quicker than I even believe that I could become good at this? And this is true for anything from a high-octane sport all the way down to chess, checkers, playing pool, like swimming, getting into traditional sports like football, basketball. These things all have a specific timeline, an amount of years that is just accepted as the length of time that it should take to get really good at this, right? Like this trade, it's 7 years, this trade, it's 5 years, this trade, it's 3 to 4 years, this trade, it's whatever. And so every single thing out there, whether it's a sport or whether it's an actual, trade or job that you're looking at getting into, they've all got this length of time that is the agreed upon. This is how long it takes to become good. This is how long it takes to become great at that. And one of the things that I've been working at pretty much for the last 10 to 12 years is debunking this and proving it wrong. Only because I was that kid that really didn't want to hear from people like, oh, you won't be good at this for another 3 years. You won't be able to make great money at this for another 5 years. Like, that actually just kind of pissed me off. And that drove me to search for answers and solutions to figure out how to learn something quicker, which I've been pretty good at. So anyways, back to these 3 simple things. Let me go ahead and get into these. The first one is you have to have a game plan. Now, if that wasn't already abundantly clear, you have to have some sort of game plan before you get started. You have to be able to break down this sport or this skill that you're looking to acquire into big chunks, and then we need to break that down into sub-pieces. Now, one of the things that I do is I run a company called Peak Experiences, which we deal with taking high-octane sport and high-octane experiences and wrapping that with speed learning principles. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take these sports that are usually take a long time to learn how to do, and we're trying to get you to learn them as fast as possible. So the first sport that we're really tackling is drift car racing. That's where you see guys going really fast, going sideways around turns, and going in pairs and 3, 4 at a time. And it's really popular in Japan. And so we've been working inside of this sport now for the last 6 months. And we'll continue to grow in this sport and obviously expand into other sports. But we've learned quite a bit just from working inside of this one sport and this one topic. And so that's where a lot of what I'm about to share with you is really distilled from. So we have to be able to take these big mechanical pieces, like in drifting, like in any other sport, and break them down into chunks. Quarter-sized chunks, let's say, 4 or 5 of them. And then from there, we refine it down even more into, just like on a ruler, you would see quarter marks, then you would see 16ths, then 8ths, 32nds, and 64ths. You can do the same thing with these big mechanical pieces. Tim Ferriss talks about this in his show, Tim Ferriss Experiments. And so first and foremost, we have to have that goal. How long do I have or do I want to give myself before I become proficient in this thing? Then we have to be able to break down the big chunks into big moving pieces and continue to refine those down until we have actionable stuff that we know and can use for today. You should be able to break this down all the way to, I have a 24-hour period today. What do I need to get done in that 24-hour period? All right, I think you get my point. Now let's move into the second one, or the number two. Number two is you have to have a pre-shot routine and a post-game routine. Now, a pre-shot routine is very simple. I'm actually pulling this out of the playbook of many, many great athletes. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Charles Barkley, all of the greats that you've seen in traditional sports use what's called a pre-shot routine. That means that they mentally rehearse the game that they are about to play before they even play it. So they get very good at mentally visualizing the win, mentally visualizing what they want to do before they go and do it. It's the same thing here, whether we're talking about drift car racing, getting better at studying, getting better at chess, checkers, whatever your thing is you have to be able to visualize where you're going before you do it and before you go and try. And I've had extremely good success with using this in sport, like working out, physical fitness, and high-octane sport. But it can be used across the boards, okay? So we have to be able to get that visualization and that mental piece down so that we know exactly what we want to accomplish and what it looks like before we actually go through the steps and through the process of doing it. And the post-game routine or the post-game process is a little different but quite similar. And so the post-game, what you want to do after you've done the lap, after you've played the game, after you've played the quarter, you made the play out on the field, whatever it is, you want to be able to go back through and objectively, no emotional opinion, no getting down on yourself, no beating yourself up. You have to objectively look at what you just did and assess. Here's what we did right. Here's what needs to change. Here's what we did wrong. And these wrong things led to the outcome that we weren't looking for. So we did all these things that got us down the path and led to the outcome that we wanted, but we were missing these pieces over here. And so when you objectively look at it and you leave out all the emotions and you leave out all the negative, I guess you could say, mental dialogue, then all you're left with is really just the facts, and you're dropping all the opinion. And then you can make changes and you can make shifts the next lap, the next play, the next quarter, whenever it is, whatever pertains to your skill that you're trying to speed learn. Okay, that's number two. And number three is you have to have the ability to get into flow state quickly. Now, if you're not familiar with flow state, you need to look at some of Jamie Wheel's work or Stephen Kotler, which operate the Flow Genome Project, which is all about flow state, which is an actual brainwave pattern that we get into as human beings in very specific and unique situations. Steve Kotler has researched this quite a bit in extreme sports. So surfing, snowboarding, big mountain descents, things like that. Like all the cool stuff that you see in Red Bull and Monster videos to where they're doing insane stuff that's just like, how do they do that is your first thought. Those are sports and those are things that are getting people into deep states of flow, which is why they do it. They're actually flow junkies. They're trying to search. They're operating day by day, searching for that state, trying to get back in there as much as possible, which is why they keep doing bigger and bigger and bigger things. So the ability to get into flow state will really allow you as an athlete or as somebody who just wants to learn a skill really quickly to kind of bend the rules and take a quantum leap through the steps much, much faster. Because in this state, you've been here before. I don't care if you've never touched sports in your life, you've had moments when you are in the zone, when kind of everything else around you just sort of disappeared and you are just very, very present with what you're doing. And when you can do that on command, the crazy thing is that you learn so much faster. So the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000-hour rule, I think that starts to disappear and fade. I'm not the only one that believes that, but a lot of these traditional rules that normally apply to learning start to fade away. And so there's two tricks and two sub-hacks that I want to give you for tapping into flow state quickly. So the first one is breathing. Now, breathing exercises goes all the way back to Buddhist and Tibetan monk eras. And all that does is, as I start to slow down my breath, it forces me to become present. Because what's the first thought? The first thought is, oh my gosh, I'm dying. Which is kind of crazy, but when you play around with that and you really start to put pauses in between the top of your breath and the bottom of your breath, meaning when I go to breathe in and I fully breathe out. When you put gaps and pauses between those sections, between your breath, it really forces you to become present. And when I become present, it's that much easier for me to slip into a state of flow. And the second piece I'm going to give you for flow state is a vision piece. Weird thing that we have as human beings, but when I look directly at you and I use what I would consider straightforward vision, it's tuned into the hypothalamus and the amygdala, which all deal with fight or flight response. It deals with the fear mechanisms that produce the chemical responses in our brain that get us to react a certain way as a human being. Now, this is nothing new. We're all very familiar with this, I'm sure. What happens when I turn on peripheral vision, which is when I try and just see everything on the furthest outside points of my vision, using my eyes to see, I guess you could say, the corners of the room, is it's not tied into that fight or flight response. So the amygdala, the hypothalamus, it's not triggered during this time. This is a trick that public speakers have taught for years on how to get comfortable speaking in front of a large amount of people. But the funny thing is that when I do that, it not only helps me speak well in front of people, strangers, and deliver my message, but it also allows me to slip into a deep state of flow very quickly. All right, that's it. The 3 simple things I wanted to share with you. Believe me when I say that that's taken not years to figure out, but years of experiments and proving the depth and the power of those simple tools. So I hope, if nothing else, that you get out of this video, you've gone ahead and gotten some tools and tricks that you can use in your life to learn things quicker, to advance yourself that much faster. Because believe me when I say that we are in shifting times, and right now one of the most powerful and important tools that you could arm yourself with would be the ability to learn skills quickly. In shifting markets where androids and robots and drones are taking over a lot of the old traditional jobs, the ability for one to be able to just make their own income and create an entirely new marketplace through skill sets that cannot be replaced by robotics is very, very important. And that's something that you'll see us continually talking about. So you can go ahead and follow us along at thecrusaderscompass.com. That's once again http://crusaderscompass.com. You'll see a link underneath this video. You can go ahead and find out more information about what we're doing with speed learning, how we're involving this with different foundations, and how we want to take this to the mainstream, and also how you can get involved. Much love, my friends. See ya.